Have you ever heard the phrase, "Let me marinate on that"? Well, that phrase came to you straight from the 2001 indie rom-com, Kissing Jessica Stein. The film was written by the co-stars of the film, Jennifer Westfeldt and Heather Jurgensen. It was their first ever screenplay, produced on a meager $1 million budget and sometimes shot in friends' apartments. Like many of the movies we're covering in this mini-season, it is now considered a cult classic. The movie stars Jennifer and Heather as Jessica and Helen. They're two New Yorkers in their 20s exploring their first queer relationship. Jessica is a copywriter at a newspaper. She's uptight, neurotic, and unlucky in love. She's secretly a passionate and talented painter, but isn't trying to make that anything other than her hobby. So she works alongside her ex-boyfriend, now boss, Josh, played by Scott Cohen of Max Medina Gilmore Girls fame, and her pregnant best friend, Joan, played with unstoppable charm by Jackie Hoffman. Helen is more of a free spirit than Jessica. She works at an art gallery, she does yoga, and she's casually sleeping with 3 men at the same time. But she's bored by her life. And so she thinks, why not try dating women?
I just think it's time, you know?
She places a classified ad, quoting Rilke. She screens a lot of calls from women she's not interested in while meditating. Jessica sees Helen's ad after a string of bad dates. She also has recently gotten the news of her brother's engagement and been publicly humiliated by her ex-boyfriend/current boss, Josh, at a dinner party.
I don't think the problem's with these poor men, these freaks and morons, as you put it. I think the problem is with you.
She loves the Rilke quote. Impulsively, she responds to the ad and ends up on a date with Helen, even though she's never even thought about dating a woman before. The date goes well, but Jessica is, true to form, uptight and neurotic about experimenting with her sexuality. Helen really likes Jessica and is patient, but sexually frustrated.
So I figured if we keep going like this, we'll get there in like 2 weeks or so.
Yeah, sure. There's no real rush.
Are you sure?
Yeah, sure.
But you'd really...
Not at all.
How about 10 days?
10 days is better.
10 days later, the day they are finally supposed to have sex, Jessica gets a call from her mother that Jessica must come out to Long Island for Shabbat. Bring your friend too, Jewish Mama says. Jewish Mama calls Jessica's office to try to get a hold of her, and Josh answers. So Josh is invited to Shabbat dinner as well, because Jewish Mama gets what Jewish Mama wants. Jessica's mom is played by the incredible Tova Feldje. Want to know how they got her for the part? Before writing the movie, Jennifer Westfeldt was Tova's assistant. So sometimes being an assistant really does get you places. Nate from The Devil Wears Prada. At the Shabbat dinner, which is almost exactly halfway through the movie, the humor of Jessica's repression is suddenly resituated into the context of the Jewish family home where Jessica is not out and Helen is not Jewish. Although this Shabbat dinner is a light comic scene, the real threat to their happiness emerges, the ever-present, suffocating closet. But the walls aren't closing in too much yet. Helen and Jessica can still have secret sex in Jessica's childhood bedroom after Jessica's mother tucks them both in. Jessica and Helen are happy for a while. Jessica is so happy that Josh gets miserable, realizing that he still has feelings for his ex. But when Jessica's brother's wedding comes around, Helen finds out that she wasn't invited and the relationship is threatened. Despite the increasing seriousness of the relationship, Jessica isn't ready to come out and bring Helen to the wedding. Helen, having reached her limit, breaks up with Jessica.
You know, I'm sorry.
Jess, I can't be with you and be intimate with you and share wonderful things with you and then get shut out of the most basic things in your life.
What is so terrible in having privacy in this?
What follows is objectively the best scene in the whole movie, where Tova Feldje finds her daughter crying and says,
I think she's a very nice girl.
Finally, out to her mom, Jessica is ready to be out to the world. She runs back to Helen, and they go to the wedding together. Meanwhile, Josh starts to write again. Did I mention he's a tortured writer? Of course he is. He's everything Helen isn't. A man, a Jew, mean to Jessica. He runs to the wedding to kiss her and say,
The reason that I was so sad when you got so happy and I was happier when you got so sad was not because I didn't want you to be happy. It was just because I wanted to be part of the reason you were happy. I want to make you happy.
Jessica tells him she would go on a date with him, but that she's with Helen, and leaves her conversation with Josh holding Helen's hand. Jessica and Helen move in together. They are, again, happy for a while. They throw parties, they share dresses, until Jessica's aversion to intimacy and Helen's sexual frustration resurface. Helen breaks up with Jessica again, this time for real.
I want to be with someone who wants me.
I want you.
I want to be with someone who craves me.
Well, I crave you.
Someone who wants to rip my clothes off.
Why?
In the final 3 minutes of the film, we flash forward to a sort of epilogue. Helen is dating a woman who wants to have sex with her. Jessica runs into Josh at a bookstore and is flustered. He asks about Helen, and Jessica tells him that she's been dumped.
She wanted to be with somebody a little more gay, I guess.
There's chemistry and a promise of a future between Josh and Jessica. Then Jessica goes to meet Helen for coffee and fill her in on the run-in with Josh. She and Helen are no longer gal pals in quotes. They're just gals who are pals, squealing over a boy. We're left at an open question about Jessica. Is she queer? Was dating Helen just a phase? It's all in the eyes of the viewer. I'm Vanessa Zoltan.
I'm Hannah McGregor.
And I'm Marcelle Kosman.
And this is my dream episode of Hot and Bothered. Welcome, Marcelle Kosman. Hannah, you did it. You have both of your co-hosts in one place.
At last. Now kiss.
Mwah.
So happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Marcelle, I am wondering if you can please tell everybody, you are not just a beloved co-podcaster with Hannah on Material Girls. You also have your own podcast. Can you tell everybody a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So Gender Playground is a podcast dedicated to the joys of gender affirming care for kids. It's very much a show that is about the ways in which gender affirming care is for everybody. It's not something that you need to wait and start when your kid informs you that they are trans or non-binary or genderqueer, etc. And it is a podcast that is very much focused on finding joy in this topic that in so many ways is engaged from a place of fear or resistance to fear mongering or how do I deal with this bad news, etc. And instead is like, hey, you know what rules? Having kids who trust you.
I love it. Even just the concept of the show, I feel like is an invitation, let alone the show itself.
Thanks, Vanessa.
Okay. Friends, Kissing Jessica Stein. What is our relationship to this movie?
Marcelle, I want to hear from you first.
Oh boy. Is it okay if I didn't like the movie?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. And the reason that I ask is because so the movie came out in what, 2001?
I think 2002.
2002. Okay. So the movie came out 23 years ago. And I think part of the reason why I might be approaching this movie from a slightly less loving place is because I encountered it for the first time as a 41-year-old.
Oh, so this was your first watch?
This was my first watch. Yeah.
Oh,
So
okay.
I didn't
All right.
see the movie when it came out. And so it doesn't form that, I think, essential place in my queer coming of age that it does for a lot of folks. And so
I feel like this might be a rough watch for the first time in 2025.
Yeah.
Because it's really ambivalent on the topic of whether or not gay women exist.
Oh, really? I read it as the opposite.
Oh my God. We'll get into it.
Okay. So I'm going to be very mindful of the fact that this is a movie that has a very special place in a lot of people's hearts and a lot of people's like queer journeys. And so I'm not here to hate on it. I just want to start by saying that like it wasn't a movie for me as a 41-year-old queer woman living in 2025.
So legit. Vanessa, had you seen it?
Yes, and I owned the DVD.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't seen it in probably 15 years now. Like, since I don't have a DVD player, I don't think I've seen it. But I watched it a lot when it came out and in the subsequent years. And I think it might be one of the straightest movies
It's so
ever.
straight. It's so straight. We'll get into it.
I love how Jewish it is.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is like a very loving
Mhm.
Jewish movie.
Yes.
I really loved Jennifer Westfeld. I like her as an actress. I like her other movie, Friends with Kids.
Mm-hmm.
I find her very heartwarming and smart. I love looking at her.
Yeah.
I love looking at her. So love this movie. She's in almost every shot. So
Yeah, you get to look
who
at her
am
a
I
lot.
mad at?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get to look at her so much. What about you, Hannah?
Oh yeah, this is a movie that as a still closeted 18-year-old
Mhm.
was a very sort of, whoa, wait,
Yeah.
whoa. Like, it
Yeah.
felt very exciting to me. Like, in a lot of ways, not only for just being like, hey, maybe kissing girls is just like a thing that you do when you live in New York and you're cool. That's kind of like a bit of the vibe of it is like,
Yeah.
hey, part of having a cool cosmopolitan New York lifestyle is like sometimes you might just kiss a girl.
Mhm.
And in general, for me at that age, it was a very aspirational movie. Like everything about the lifestyle was very like, oh yeah, this is the kind of adult I would like to be.
Yeah.
Yes. With a cool staircase and just
With
piles of books.
With an inexplicable spiral staircase in the middle of my
Mhm.
cool loft apartment.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you go to work and like argue about prepositions.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I know.
And then you go home to your cool loft apartment and you just read some Rilke.
You're drinking coffee and wine simultaneously.
Oh,
It's
double fisting
perfect.
coffee and wine? Like,
Yeah.
the dream. And I don't think I've watched it since 2002. Like, I think I probably
No.
watched it like 5 times in 2002 and then never watched it again. And so I see all the things that I loved about this movie
Yeah.
23 years ago. And from my contemporary perspective, I'm totally with you, Vanessa. I'm like, this was both a movie that was so important to me as a young queer person and a movie that as an adult, I'm like, oh, that's a straight movie. That's a straight movie made by some straight ladies.
Wait, so let's just get our cards on the table and talk about our theme of queer love first. So my defense of this movie that I do not think holds up, but my defense of this movie is that it knows that it's a straight movie. That the couple breaks up because Helen has realized that she is gay and Jess is not gay. And Helen is like, I want someone who wants to have sex with me. And Jess doesn't because she's a straight lady. And so this is a movie about a straight lady who thinks that she's more bi than she is and thinks that she can be more fluid than she is and like isn't. I think it is a straight ass movie.
Okay, I agree that it's a straight ass movie. And I think one of the things that really struck me is that it's doing rom-com stuff in such a straight way that it made me go like, and this is one of the things I'm really interested in for this this theme in general is like, can queer love actually fit into the shape of a rom-com? Or is a rom-com such a fundamentally heterosexual genre that queer love always butts up against it?
Yeah.
And this certainly feels like a movie that's like doesn't know how to be gay and be a rom-com at the same time. The two of them are in love, but the rom-comiest scenes are between Jessica and Josh.
Yeah.
But it also, like, my read is that these are two bisexual women, neither of whom have the language for bisexuality.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? We see Helen being told by her male gay friends that she is not gay enough and so doesn't count as gay, which is an experience many bisexual women have had. Being told, like, you're not gay enough. Gayness is a club you have to earn entry into, and you have failed to do so, you know, particularly because Helen's femme and because she enthusiastically and enjoyably has sex with multiple men. And the fact that she ends up with a woman doesn't mean, we all know this, doesn't mean that she wasn't bisexual in the first place. I also think Jessica is bisexual. Like, she is very attracted to Helen. She enjoys some of the sex that they have. I think Jessica doesn't like sex very much. And that, for me, feels so unresolved.
Yeah, I think you're both making very legit points about the complicatedness of the character's sexuality. And I think part of why it reads so uncomfortably to me is because I don't think that the movie knows what bisexuality is. And so I don't think that as a viewer, I come away with a clear sense of, are these characters straight, gay, or bisexual? And I don't think the audience necessarily needs to know that, but I think the characters need to know that. And I'm not sure that the characters know that.
Yeah.
But that feels accurate to me for 2002, that people didn't know they were allowed to be bisexual.
Yeah, oh, totally. Absolutely. So as a period piece, for sure.
Right. As a document of its time. Yeah.
Sort of a historical drama.
But I actually, Hannah, I think your point that Jessica doesn't like sex very much, I think is so apt because we don't get a clear sense from her that she was particularly into sex even before Helen, right? Like, we have that whole scene where they're on the couch and they're talking about, Jessica is bringing, like, she's done research about how they might engage in sexual congress together, but it's not coming from the place of somebody who knows what she likes or from somebody who likes sex.
Yeah.
And it's not even like she's trying to say this is what I'm into, but is afraid to articulate it. You know, it's like the whole concept of having sex is work as opposed to something to look forward to.
At one point, she says, Helen is talking about the idea of somebody being sexy ugly, which is, this is the film that introduced me to that concept. So thank you for your service, Kissing Jessica Stein. Helen says, I just find a lot of different things sexy. And Jessica goes, oh, I don't.
I think she just finds a certain kind of man sexy. When Josh kisses her, she's really into it. Even though she is with Helen at that point, she lets that kiss go on and on and on and really doesn't break it off. When men run by her, she checks them out. Jess is a perfectionist and a snob. And so there is only a teeny tiny group of men who she finds attractive. And the movie does not find that attractive about Jess. I think we're supposed to believe she's kind of open-minded for other people, but incredibly narrow-minded for herself. Actually, no. She's just narrow-minded. She's just kind of a narrow-minded asshole. But, like, I think that the way that I read that scene where Jess comes over to Helen's apartment and is like, here are the things we can do, she literally says something along the lines of, like, I don't know what women do together, and then shows a strap on. Like, she wants a dick involved in sex. I think she's uptight. She doesn't like her stomach touched by anyone. I definitely think she's uptight, and I don't think it's clear that she is someone who loves sex. She's clearly willing to give up sex to be in an intimate friendship with Helen.
Yeah.
But I do think that the thesis of the movie is that Helen is bisexual and has realized that she's bisexual and only wants to be in a relationship with a woman if the woman is interested in women, and Jess isn't.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really fair, whatever your sexuality, if you are a person who likes sex, to want to be in a relationship with somebody who also wants to fuck you.
Yeah. Super fair take.
I think that being queer and having no idea what you like and no idea how to have sex with the person you want to have sex with and no idea what brings you pleasure and no idea how to navigate sex outside of like P and V all makes so much sense to me. Like, none of that, you know, Jessica showing up and being like, here's a zine I found about strap-ons. It's just like, is less about whether or not she's queer and more about what she's like, right? Like her deep anxiety about doing things right. And I want to hold on to her bisexuality, whether the film believes. I don't think the film believes in bisexuality. So I guess I have to be reading against the grain when it comes to that. I want to hold on to her bisexuality for myself because I think part of her transformative journey through this movie from, as we have encountered in many rom-coms, a girl with straight hair to a girl with curly hair, the ultimate sign of liberation, is her learning how to have some vocabulary for articulating what it is that she wants. At the end of the day, I don't think we have enough data to know.
Agreed.
I wish so badly that we got to see any indication that she's like become more sexually liberated, but like I think that's the work the curly hair is trying to do.
That's the curly hair.
So 2 things, the curly hair, but there is also that scene after she and Helen have sex where she's walking through the office wearing a mini skirt and boots. And all of a sudden people are noticing her. They're like, oh, so she's clearly giving off, in that instance, she's clearly giving off some kind of vibe, some kind of I've gotten laid vibe. I don't know. I can't remember how much time is supposed to have elapsed from that.
3 months.
3 months. Okay. So I think we are encouraged to believe that she's been having enjoyable sex for 3 months. I think the movie is giving us the impression that she is suddenly sexually liberated. That like, because of the way she's walking through the office, because of the length of her boots and the shortness of her skirt and maybe
the sway of her hips.
The height of her ponytail.
The height of her ponytail. Yeah, sure.
The height of her ponytail.
Yeah. So I do think that we are encouraged to believe that it has been good. At least it doesn't come across as something continuing to be a source of stress, right?
Yeah.
It's so stressful for her until they do it.
So here's a really interesting piece of the moment, like the lead up to when they first do it, which is after they're at that bar where the 2 men are talking about how hot they think lesbian sex is. So I think one of the really tricky things that I think we are collectively bumping up against is that within this movie, there is a real struggle to think of women's sexual liberation, sexual pleasure, romantic satisfactions, etc., desire, outside of the framework of the male gaze and what men think about things. And that like gets repeated in multiple different ways, right? It's like they have good sex for the first time when she hears 2 straight men describe how hot they think 2 women having sex with each other is. So much of her relationship, of Jessica's relationship with Helen, is triangulated through the way that Josh, aka Max Medina,
thank you,
feels about it. So because the movie is like, it's a rom-com, so it has to be about a man, because that seems to be so core to like the imagination of the movie, it becomes really hard to like see through it beyond the sort of ongoing centering of what men think about women's desire to actually get at like, well, what do these women really want? And that's like also feels very true for a lot of women.
I know.
Be like, how do you possibly figure out what you want in such a deeply heteronormative and patriarchal culture?
Totally.
Really, one of the things that I admire about the movie is how it shows, even if you're going to come out to family and friends who are so supportive about it, if you come out in your late 20s, you're going to have to negotiate and have to deal with them like wanting to regulate and discuss your gayness. It is not going to be, you're gay? Great. It's going to be your brother talking to you about it at his wedding, being like, I really thought you liked men. Your mom's group of friends is going to be like asking how gay she is, right? Like the world is going to come between you and the person you've chosen in a really different way than it would if she had brought a boy home.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it doesn't feel wrong to me that like if you as a woman are going to come out, you're going to have to talk about it with everyone because they really want a penis in your life.
Can I hit the emergency stop button and talk about compulsory heterosexuality?
Please.
Okay.
So in our episode about But I'm a Cheerleader, we talked about heteronormativity, right? Which is the cultural structuring of heterosexuality as sort of default and natural, internally coherent. And queer theorists like Lauren Berlant and Michael Warner have argued that it is in fact fundamentally incoherent as a structure and that it takes a lot of cultural force to sort of render it coherent. And that's all very, very pertinent to this film as well. Definitely heteronormativity will help us think this through. But there is a related concept, which is compulsory heterosexuality. And that is more specifically related to the ways in which women are coerced into heterosexuality. This is a concept that comes from Adrienne Rich, from an essay that she wrote in 1980. In it, she's talking about how, like, part of the invisibility of lesbian desire of lesbians, you know, within queer culture, right? We see this. We see that, like, gay men are the default incarnation of homosexuality in so many articulations of queer culture. So Rich is trying to think through this, like, how does it come to be that women are coerced into heterosexuality like this? And she places side by side both the violent forms of coercion through which women are, like, literally forced into heterosexual relationships, but then also the sort of more like ideological, cultural, social forms of coercion that just make it almost impossible to imagine a future for yourself outside of heterosexuality as, like, the default way a life is structured. And I think we see that, like, compulsory heterosexuality at work in this movie in so many ways. I think we see it in Helen's friends telling her that she doesn't count as gay. Right? That she's not doing her gayness correctly. And the default is you must be straight. Like, you are not gay in a way that we read as gay. And therefore, you return to the default, which is straight. But we also see it in her ability or inability to imagine a future for herself. You know, I keep thinking there's this one moment where Helen and Jessica are at a fruit stand, and Jessica looks lovingly at a baby, and Helen is sort of like, okay. And it's like, oh, there's a lot packed into that, because one of the ways that heterosexuality is rendered compulsory for women is that it is married to the ability to have children.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing stopping gay women from getting pregnant, but we build an entire cultural apparatus around the notion of reproduction as only possible or legitimate within the dyadic couple form and marriage, right? Like, it's an apparatus that is built to render heterosexuality compulsory if you want to have a kid.
Yeah.
Because trying to have a kid in any other way, you're going to have to be working around and through systems that might actually not even legally recognize your parenthood, right? Like, in 2002, if Helen and Jessica had a kid together, I don't know if they would legally both be able to be that kid's parents.
Yeah, I think the non-birth parent would probably have to adopt the child.
Yeah. I think this movie is a fascinating study of compulsory heterosexuality at work, because we see how much of an uphill struggle it is for either of them to take pleasure in queerness. And yeah, one of them arrives at a more, a place of greater comfort with that, but they both face these like series of forms of pushback that extend far beyond Jessica's anxiety about coming out to her family.
Yeah.
Like, it's so structural, and it happens at so many levels.
They do get to share dresses, though.
And lipstick tips.
Yeah, which is great. Can I say one more thing about queerness before I'm open to us changing to talk about what this movie believes about love?
Of course.
I think that this movie makes a really interesting parallel between Jewishness and queerness.
Okay, tell
Say
me
more.
I think the position of this movie is that queerness is real and you can dabble in it, right? Like, it does believe in sort of the Kinsey scale, and that like you can dabble in queerness but not be like queer enough, and the other people are going to need you to be queer enough. And I think it believes the same thing about Jewishness, that Helen has attended a Seder, and that is better than not being Jewish. Jessica's family is Jewish. They're very Jewish. Josh, the other love interest, is Jewish, and he can say the chamotzi perfectly and like knows to tear the bread and pass it in a certain way. And Helen is not Jewish. And the way they're welcome, right? Like, just like Jessica, you can sleep with women, Jessica. That doesn't make you bi or gay. And Helen can attend Jewish events and you will be tolerated, but that does not make you Jewish. And, and Judaism itself does believe in conversion, but the culture of Judaism can be pretty hard on converts. And I think we see that in the movie, right? Like, if you think like that, Helen's gay best friend is like pretty hard on her as a quote unquote convert to homosexuality.
Yeah.
And then there's really this argument both in Jewishness and in queerness about like, is it something that you're born? Can it be fluid? I mean, I just had this conversation the other day about like, to what extent is Judaism a race? And like, it's certainly genetic on some levels. Certain people have to get tested for Tay-Sachs, or because I'm an Ashkenazi Jew, I need to get mammograms more regularly, right? Like, certainly historically, people have said even if you convert to Christianity, if you were born a Jew, you're still a Jew, right? St. Teresa Benedicta, Edith Stein was killed by Hitler, even though she had converted to Catholicism. And so like I really believe that this movie genuinely thinks that Judaism and queerness are analogous to one another.
I mean, there is that scene, and it opens in a scene in a synagogue, right?
Yes.
And in that scene, they're making reference to Jessica's last boyfriend. And if I remember right, the implication was that he was too Jewish. He's sitting with the men. He's got very tight curly hair. Like, he's too Semitic. Whereas Josh is the bisexual equivalent of Judaism, right?
Right.
He's able to move in between like mainstream New York secular culture and also show up on time at the Seder and say the chamotzi, right? Like, he's able to occupy this space that, so to your point, Vanessa, I think Josh is the Jewish bisexual
Yes.
And Jessica is the bisexual Jew. Does that make sense?
I don't know if it makes sense, but I love it. And so I will adopt it.
Okay, great. We can end it there. Okay, should we talk about what this movie believes about love?
Absolutely, we should.
I'm going to need the two of you to tell me.
I think this movie believes that different people have significantly different needs and expectations in a relationship, and that some of that can be changed, but that some of it's just match or mismatch. So, you know, when we think about Helen and Jessica's relationship, it's like they both really try to be flexible for each other. Like they both really try to meet the other person where they're at and or push themselves outside of their comfort zones. And there's lots of stuff about their relationship that works really well. And at the end of the day, there is a mismatch in how much sex they want to have. And that is not going to work for them. I mean, personally, I think just open the relationship. We've established that Helen likes fucking a lot of people.
Yeah.
Just open the relationship. Let Helen fuck as many people as she wants. Anyway, but sorry, I'm getting away from myself. So I think that is one of the things that I like about this movie. It's not despite the sort of, you know, inevitably Jessica and Josh will get together again at the end. It's not really there's one true person for you out there. It's you can do some work on yourself to change for a relationship. And that's not selling out. But also, you shouldn't be expected to totally transform who you are to fit into a relationship. And I like that in-betweenness.
Yeah.
I like that sense that there's negotiation and flexibility and growth, but you also get to have the things that are just non-starters for you or the things that are must-haves for you. And that's also okay. And that doesn't make you a bad guy. And it doesn't make the person that you were in a relationship with a bad guy if at the end of the day something about the relationship doesn't match up.
Yep. Marcelle?
So the thing that really stood out to me when I was watching the movie is that it felt very much to me like this movie was in defense of settling. And this, to be clear, this is a position I actually feel very positively about.
Yeah.
I have had numerous conversations with friends over the 20 years that I've been in a relationship about the unrealisticness of having a passionate, romantic relationship with somebody who also deeply satisfies you in every way. Yeah. And so
it's an outrageous ask.
It's an outrageous ask, but it's also the implication of so much romance, right?
Yeah. Yes.
The idea is that not only will you be ready to tear your clothes off the second your beloved comes through the door, but also they're going to make you laugh. They're going to do nice things for you. You're going to be the best of friends. You'll align in all of these ways. And it's so hard, I think, to be happy in a relationship and to feel happy in a relationship when that's what you have been conditioned to believe is the ideal.
Yeah.
And so I think one of the things that I really liked about this movie and I really liked about its representation of love is that it's okay for your loving relationship to not have all of the things that society tells you it's supposed to have. The fact that Jessica is very happy with Helen, even though they don't have sex, Jessica would have been happy, I think, to stay in that relationship, even though their sex life is not exciting, is not is not maybe not even passionate. I don't know. It's not a big thing. And that's not what Helen wants. And so to your point, Hannah, it's a mismatch for sure. And then I think the fact that we are encouraged to believe that she and Josh get together at the end, I think is like a gentle nod to like, well, he's also her friend. They also like each other. Maybe they didn't have exciting sex. They certainly didn't seem to in the way that they talked about their former relationship. And they probably won't going forward, but they like each other a lot. They respect each other as people. Their families are close. Like, this will be nice. This will be good enough. And so I very much think that this is a movie that's like, you know what's underrated? Settling.
Settling a little bit, right? And like that's kind of Josh's monologue, his mean monologue to Jessica at that awkward dinner, where he's like,
compromise, lady.
You've decided nobody's good enough for you.
Yeah.
Including you, right? Like, and this is that beautiful scene between Jessica and her mother, where her mother says, like, oi, this child will suffer. But like, he's saying, you have to be okay with settling a bit.
Yeah.
Like, it's not that people can't improve, right? And like her complaint about him was that he gave up on his writing. And we see him come back to his writing, right? So it's like, people can push you, you can change, but also you got to chill out a little bit. You got to be a little bit easier on yourself, and you got to be a little bit easier on other people.
Yeah.
You can't expect it to always be perfect and easy. That's just not fair. It's just not a fair thing to ask.
A person choosing career stability is not a great reason to break up with them.
Nope.
I'm just gonna put that out there. It's like not a great reason.
Also, like, the piece that I think we need to add in to this whole question of settling is like, to what degree are women expected to settle for men who suck? Because, you know, you're not getting any younger, and if you don't get married, your life is pointless and you'll be alone right? So like, part of that, and he's kind of saying that too, right? He's like, stop being such a snob and settle. I think in the long run, the movie agrees with Josh in that scene. But while watching that particular scene, after we've seen a montage of the guys she went on dates with, and then he characterizes them in a way that is so profoundly at odds with what we have just seen.
Yeah.
Where he's like, oh, somebody has a slightly different approach to splitting the bill than you do. Or somebody had a generous response to your infamous lateness. And it's like, no, he rubbed his nipples at her. It was wild.
Yeah.
Like, the behavior she's encountering is wild.
Yeah.
Right? There's the sense in that moment that he's like, at least how I experienced it was like, his berating of her was so unreasonable because we've seen these dates and they fucking sucked. But then also, she's a huge snob.
So mean.
Yeah.
They're both mean. One of the reasons that the movie believes they should be together is that they're both kind of assholes.
They are kind of both kind of assholes. Yeah. Vanessa, what do you think this movie believes about love?
I think that this movie believes that the best relationships are where you are best friends, good roommates, and you want to jump each other. And that is what makes a good romantic relationship. Because the breakup between Helen and Jess, they agree about everything that's great about each other. It's, I love you too, you're my best friend, you're my best friend. And then it's, we're roommates. And Jess is like, that's terrible, right? Like, but they take good care of each other, right? Like, when they're sick, they're kind to each other. They have fun together. And then Helen says, I want someone who wants to have sex with me. And she's like, and kind of stumbles over her words and is like, want to have sex with you. And she's like, well, I want someone who wants to tear my clothes off. And Jess can't say that. And so the implication really is these two almost have a perfect relationship. And the only thing that's standing between them and happiness is that. And so they go back to being friends, and they're amazing at being friends. But I really think that this movie thinks that that is the only difference between good friendship, best friendship, and romantic love is the desire to tear off your clothes.
Yeah. Okay. So we've been talking about what the movie believes about love, and we've talked already about subtext quite a bit. But let's actually get into that segment. What are the subtexts that we want to make text in this movie? What does it believe that maybe it doesn't know it believes? Marcelle, you want to You want to go first this time?
Sure. Yeah. So I would argue, in addition to compulsory heterosexuality, compulsory monogamy, because Helen seems to have no problems juggling multiple lovers. And it's not until she and Jessica are in a relationship, capital R, that she doesn't have multiple lovers anymore. She has one, and that one lover doesn't want to be her lover. And so I think the movie believes that when you're in a relationship, if it's serious, you are only having sex with that one person, or not at all.
I love how happily Helen is having sex with multiple people.
Yeah.
And like not hiding it from them.
Yeah.
Just
Answering the phone with
just
one while she's having sex with the other.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And a third one is like at the art opening is like, you gotta stop having sex with other people. And she's like, no,
I'm going to go do it right now.
And Jess isn't against it. Like on that date where Jess and Helen almost have sex, one of Helen's lovers shows up.
That's right.
And Jess says to her, like, you should have sex with him tonight. He's a sure thing and I'm not. And like kisses her goodbye and goes. But it is like once Helen and Jess start having sex, the implication is that Helen can no longer be having sex with other people.
I know, right? And it's just like, I can so picture a version of this. Like, it is a really viable way forward in couples whose sex drives don't match up.
Absolutely.
Like, I'm not saying it's always going to fix the problem, but like, it's already presented in the movie as a possibility. Let's explore further.
Yeah.
I think that this movie believes in lesbian bed death.
Say more.
Say more.
Lesbian bed death is the idea that lesbian relationships inevitably end up sexless. And it's based in the premise that men just have higher sex drives than women. And so in heterosexual relationships, it is inevitable that the men will be driving the desire for sex. And we hear this a lot in like heterosexual relationship advice columns, or, you know, like you hear straight women say this, like, you just have to have sex with your husband whether you want to or not, because that's how you keep the relationship going. So like schedule it. Just make sure that you're having sex whether you're interested or not. And that logic of like men just like sex more than women do then plays out in the sort of stereotypes of male same-sex relationships and female same-sex relationships, which is like in male same-sex relationships, you're like, you're fucking everybody. You're like, gay men are always, you know, depicted as promiscuous. Whereas in female same-sex relationships, it's like, oh, you're actually going to inevitably end up being roommates because women just don't like having sex. So like, once you get together, you're just going to stop having sex. And that's lesbian bed death.
All right.
Yeah. And just for the record, I know a lot of really horny women.
This is anecdotal, not scientific. And yet, it must be said.
Anecdotally, I know a bunch of huge sluts. Vanessa, what do you think? What's your subtext?
I think the subtext of this movie is that if someone is mean to you, it means that they see you.
Oh, God, yeah.
And love you.
So it's like the adult version of, oh, he pulled your hair on the playground. He must like you.
Yes. But
yes.
Hate that.
I do too. But it's actually like Jess and Josh hold each other to high standards. And so they're like kind of mean to each other. And then they arguably end up together and are like good for each other. And so I don't know what it's arguing, if it's arguing that like the line between love and hate is unclear. If you really love someone, you're really invested in their lives. And so it feels high stakes to you what they do with it. But what it looks like is that these two people are kind of awful to each other. So much so that Jess like trashes this man's date in front of her, right? Like they make each other worse before they quote unquote make each other better. And so, like, love looks confusing, and maybe someone being mean to you is just what you need. Is part of what this movie says.
Certainly believes in tough love.
Yes. But it also believes in kind love. For the Patreon bonus scene, can we look at the scene between Jess and her mom?
Oh, we better.
Yeah. Okay.
Of course.
Good.
I need to watch that scene again. Okay, we are out of time. So, Vanessa, I need you to finish this sentence. You should watch this movie if.
You want to have the same feelings about the actor who plays Max Medina as you do about Max Medina, but in a movie. It's like, am I attracted to you? Are you an asshole? I can't tell. This guy, same vibe.
I love this guy. I love this guy in every movie that he is in. His particular brand of romantic hero just really works for me.
Really? Really?
Yeah, I really love him. I loved Max Medina. He's my favorite of Lorelai's love interests. I found him profoundly charming in this. I mean, I don't want anybody to end up with him. Obviously, I want everybody to end up with Helen. But, this isn't a segment. Marcelle, finish the sentence. You should watch this movie if.
If you want to know why so many millennials and Gen X women didn't come out until they were in their 30s. Because it simply wasn't socially acceptable to be queer, and LOL, it still isn't unless you live in a big city.
Also, is bisexuality real? Jury's out.
No way to know. Impossible to know.
And Hannah.
You should watch this movie if you are a rom-com lover, because this movie is a love story to the New York rom-com. It's full of When Harry Met Sally references. It's full of You've Got Mail references. Like, it is a rom-com written by people who love rom-coms. And if you love rom-coms, you will find a lot to enjoy in this movie.
Absolutely.
That's so nice.
Marcelle, thank you so much for coming on the show. It was such a delight. It's always such a delight to get to hang out with you.
It was such a pleasure. Thank you guys so much for having me. I love to talk about movies, and I love it when I can do that and not feel bad about the fact that I didn't love the movie the way that everybody who told me to watch the movie loved the movie. I always am like, oh no, I did it bad.
This is a safe space for haters.
This is a safe space for haters who feel a little guilty about hating.
I know that I'm the one who's wrong. I watched it at the wrong time. That's me. It was, if you will, a rom-com.
Oh.
No?
I won't.
No, Hannah will not.
You've been listening to Hot and Bothered. We're a small show, so we need your support to run. If you can, please consider supporting us on Patreon or Apple Podcasts. If you love the show, please leave us a review wherever you're listening. We are a Not Sorry production. Ariana Nettleman and I are the executive producers. This week's essay was written by Ariana Nettleman, and we are edited and produced by Ariana Nettleman. We are distributed by Acast. And thanks as always to our soulmate level patrons: Elizabeth Schweinsberg, whose heart we would play a game of one-on-one basketball for; Lauren Byer O'Connell, who we would call up on stage to dance with in front of the whole summer camp; Avi Lichtenstein, who we would make every person in the kingdom try on a shoe for; Kristen Hall, who we would travel through a time portal to spend the 19th century with; Shiri Yadlin, who we would write a sonnet about and read it in front of the whole class; Delia Rose, who we are majorly, totally, butt crazy in love with; and Leia Goldberg, who we would carry on our backs as we jump from tree to tree like a little spider monkey. We also love our team: Julia Argy, Nikki Zoltan, AJ Aramas, Courtney Brown, Anissa Ahmed, Danny Langley, and Stephanie Paulsell.